When I give you a date, it must be something that I believe in. We're not there yet.
Runaway train, forget about on time. This is off course. The troubled transit project stalled yet again. Another crisis for Crosstown. Good evening. Overdue and over budget. Catching a ride on the Eglinton LRT still far from reality.
19 kilometers, 25 stops, billions of dollars, but seemingly unlimited challenges. What will it take to get this project even remotely on track? CTV's Mike Walker is live with tonight's top story. Mike.
Well, Michelle, Nathan, Metrolink CEO Phil Verster had intended on providing a timeline today, but says new problems are being discovered every week that must be fixed, and for that reason can't say for certain when the Eglinton Crosstown will open. Years behind schedule, construction ongoing, and there is still no timeline on when the Eglinton Crosstown will be completed and operational.
Upset about it. It seems like a war zone here. Foot traffic congestion, vehicle congestion.
It is quite frustrating, but I'm hoping that they'll get the job done safely.
Providing an update on the transit project today,
That I had every intention to predict an opening date.
Metrolink CEO Phil Verster couldn't commit to a reliable completion date, pointing to ongoing technical issues being identified by Crosslinks, the consortium of construction companies building the line in the testing and commissioning phase.
The CTS is finding and rectifying issues on a week-by-week basis, and that this affects the opening date significantly.
Construction is complete on most of the 19-kilometer LRT line, except for a 400-meter stretch in the Yonge and Eglinton area. Metrolink says there are more than 200 deficiencies that must be rectified.
So we want the tests to be rigorous, and we want to identify these issues. This then gives us the assurance that we've got a robust, safe and reliable railway.
Started in 2011, the original completion date was 2020. There have been numerous delays caused by the pandemic, repairs to the existing station box at Yonge, track issues, litigation with Crosslinks, and recently the suspension of operator training due to fleet availability. The budget has now ballooned to more than $12 billion.
This is a very complicated project. I appreciate the frustration that many commuters feel.
Unacceptable, say critics who are calling on the Ford government to fire Verster.
It is a complete disaster. And now we have learned that this government has no credible plan, no timeline, and we don't know how much taxpayers are going to be on the hook for it.
Metrolink says it has a good idea on completion, but for now is only committing to updates every 2 months.
We will announce an opening date once the high-risk testing and commissioning work has been completed.
And that phase still has a long road ahead. Verster was repeatedly asked if the Crosstown would be completed sometime within the next year. He would say any timeline provided today would only be an estimate. The next update from Metrolinks is expected in November. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. And for some of the people who've been waiting for this line to arrive, the delays are almost becoming a running joke. But the effects are also very real for those trying to live and work amid all the construction. CTV's Janice Golding is live with that side of the story. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, we've been speaking to commuters as well as shopkeepers who work in this area of Eglinton and Dufferin, and I can tell you the overwhelming sentiment is frustration. Some, of course, say that they are not surprised at all given just how many delays they've already faced. However, learning today that there is no longer an estimated completion date at all is very discouraging. Work began on the Eglinton Crosstown LRT in 2011, and original completion dates were set for 2020 and 2021. The 19-kilometer, 25-stop transit line between Mount Dennis in the west and Kennedy in the east is now also almost double the initial estimates, which people we spoke to are calling a waste of their tax dollars. Here is more community reaction.
It is really disappointing. Really, it's like I don't even want to ask anymore when it's going to open. I don't even want to see when it's going to open. When it happens, it happens.
Well, I walk by the beautiful stations every day. They look great. I can't wait to ride on the new line, but yeah, it's taking a really long time. It's frustrating.
I feel very upset because I don't know where they spend our money for our taxes.
Really frustrated. The last date I heard was November 2023, and now they're telling us no date at all. They don't know when it's going to happen, when it's going to be finished.
It sucks. I'm sorry for saying that, but it's really disappointing. It's taking longer than they promised us.
There's nothing that we can do. It's not in our hands.
Now, as you can see, the construction debris is mostly gone here at Eglinton and Dufferin. And shopkeepers we spoke to say that business has improved, but it is still not back to normal. So they are hoping that once the LRT finally does open, they'll have more people passing through the neighborhood. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
All right, thank you, Janice. Straight ahead, a bizarre and horrific story from the downtown core. The search for a suspect, a dog shot and killed, caught in the crossfire of an altercation in a popular park.
But first, to an alarming day for people living in a Barrie neighborhood, evacuated and locked down, rocked by an explosion early this morning.
Specialized officers swarming the area, focusing their efforts in a parking lot. CTV's Sean Leathong is live with more. Sean.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, it appears that all the damage was to 2 cars in this parking lot by an apartment building in Barrie. But the questions remain once police had the area secured as to who would bring not 1 but 2 explosive devices to this area. Residents of a small Barrie apartment building shaken in the middle of the night by an explosion.
3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, it was a big bang. Like it wasn't a gunshot, it was more like a boom.
This security footage from a home nearby picks up the sound around 2:45 this morning. According to Barrie police, an improvised explosive device was placed on a car in the parking lot at 108 Ann Street North in Barrie, just off Highway 400.
Located a vehicle that had in fact exploded partially.
And just a few feet away, first responders making another discovery.
We also located an improvised explosive device nearby. As a result of what was located, an immediate evacuation of the residents was required.
Residents of the building were evacuated, the street closed, and the area placed in hold and secure.
Yeah, it's been a long night. I'm tired. I want to go home. My girlfriend can't even leave for work. The kids can't even go to school.
At 8:30 this morning, Barrie Police Explosive Unit detonated the second improvised explosive device.
It was in an adjacent garden close by. It would appear as if the device that exploded on the vehicle, it's a possibility it may have been there beside that vehicle or part of the device that exploded, and it just did not detonate at the time of the initial explosion.
The area remained in hold and secure while the Barrie Police, along with the OPP K-9 unit, searched for more possible explosives. None were found, and no one was hurt.
Certainly this could have been a disastrous outcome, not only for residents of our community, but for any emergency services personnel that were responding to this.
The hold and secure was lifted this afternoon. So far, police have not announced any arrests as the search continues for those responsible. And police are asking anyone who may have any dash cam footage from the area at night to please contact them. Also, there has been a partial opening of some of the streets in the area, but some do also remain closed at this time. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Sean. Here in the city, a dozen schools in the East End went into lockdown and hold and secure after reports of a person with a gun. This happened a bit after 11 a.m. near Danforth and Cambridge Avenue. Investigators say they got word a student had a gun at the City Adult Learning Center, but ETF officers cleared the school and didn't find anyone. All schools resumed normal activity by around 1 o'clock.
Coming up, an apology on behalf of Parliament from the Prime Minister. Justin Trudeau's response to the diplomatic debacle created by the Speaker of the House, unknowingly honoring a veteran who fought with the Nazis.
Here's a live look outside on this Wednesday evening. A nice night across the GTA. Lots of blue sky and very comfortable. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. No complaints, Lindsay.
And you know, Nathan, this is starting to sound a little bit like weather on repeat, but there are a few changes in store, and we're going to talk about that. But yes, a lovely evening. We do have overcast skies and a few showers across southwestern Ontario. And once again today, we've had a wind coming out of the east. You've likely noticed that the closer you are to the shoreline of Lake Ontario. Gusts around 40, even 50 kilometers per hour today. Temperature-wise, yes, we are nice and comfortable. 18 degrees currently in Toronto. That's seasonal. It's going to be a little chilly overnight tonight outside of the city. So coming up, we'll show you who is under a frost advisory. There's a look at your evening patio forecast. We're also going to talk about how dry it's been and why coming up. For now, Nathan, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Now to an altercation in a downtown park, ending with the shooting of a dog.
Tonight, the search for the person involved in this disturbing case of public violence. CTV's Beth McDonnell is live at Barbara Hall Park tonight with more on what happened. Beth.
Michelle, when this shooting first happened, there was actually confusion whether it was a person or a dog that was shot. Tonight, a friend of the dog owner tells me he's distraught over the loss. A man's 3-year-old dog is dead, shot and killed in Barbara Hall Park. It happened steps from the AIDS Memorial, located in the heart of the village, Toronto's historic home for LGBTQ+ communities.
I heard two sounds that first we thought might be a car backfiring, but it didn't sound quite like that. And immediately after, a man screaming, "I've been shot, I've been shot."
Toronto police say around 10:45 Tuesday night, a man and a male suspect got into some type of altercation. It's believed they didn't know each other. Police say the male suspect left, but then came back and shot the man's dog around 11:15 and took off.
But when we got there, we found this man's 3-year-old dog had been shot. We helped the man take the dog to an emergency veterinary hospital.
Officers on bikes have been in the park with canvassing for witnesses and video underway. The shooting follows a stabbing of a man in the park earlier in the day. This time, the violence erupted around 7:30 in the morning. Police say stemming from an argument.
It becomes frightening to leave. I mean, we love the park, but the park is not the park anymore. It's owned by these dealers.
Vera Tarman is a former AIDS doctor and dog owner who has lived next to the park for 20 years. Tarman is concerned about violence in the park, which she says stems from drug activity. She says people on her street are anxious.
It's heartbreaking to see people dealing drugs in front of the memorial. The security that is there, they don't do anything. So now we're getting to the point of thinking maybe we just need to lock the doors of the park at night. Just something to discourage the drug use.
Tarman doesn't believe the violence is coming from the unhoused. She says they are being preyed upon like residents and puts the blame on dealers. Chris Moyes is the area city councillor.
The police have said to me that they will have an increase of officers in this area to deal with some of the problems that is ongoing.
If the male suspect is caught, police say he could face firearms or animal cruelty related charges. We are waiting to hear from police to learn more about the dog's breed and suspect information. Councillor Chris Moy says he doesn't think fencing or locking the park is the right move. He wants to see more programming and people coming to the park. He says there is money set aside to revitalize it next year. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. 2 Toronto firefighters were hurt responding to separate incidents last night. Emergency crews responded to a 3-alarm fire at around 8:30 on Wedgwood Drive near Willowdale and Cummer Avenues. A home under construction went up in flames. Officials say a firefighter fell from a significant height and suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Then around 1:30 a.m., a fire broke out at a building near Queen and Bathurst. 2 people were transported to hospital with minor injuries, including a firefighter. The causes of both fires remain under investigation.
We're learning more details about a homicide investigation now underway in Hamilton. Police say a 33-year-old man was found bleeding and unconscious near McNabb and Jackson Street at around 3 in the morning. He was rushed to hospital but didn't survive. Investigators still haven't figured out the cause of death, and they're asking anyone with surveillance footage from the area to review it and get in touch with any information that might help.
We want to warn you about the disturbing details in our next story. New revelations at a sexual assault trial involving fashion mogul Peter Nygard.
As the jury hears more about the private bedroom in his headquarters in Toronto, where the assaults are alleged to have taken place. CTV's John Woodward is live with more. John.
Nathan, lawyers are spending a lot of time setting the scene at the building where these assaults are alleged to have happened, a luxurious top-floor suite where Nygard is said to have added custom security features.
Peter Nygard redesigned this building on Niagara Street in 1986, according to a promotional video played in court and obtained by CTV News. The fashion mogul built a waterfall that flows from the 3rd to the 1st floor, a gym and a showroom, and Toronto's first personal retractable roof.
Luxury typical for the designer who in previous decades was at the height of his fame and wealth. He added another floor, a lounge known as the Berlin Room for its table made from a piece of the Berlin Wall, and an office and a personal bedroom, a jacuzzi and a sauna with views of the Toronto skyline. It's in what Nygard called his VIP suite that prosecutors allege he sexually assaulted 5 women starting in the 1980s. Women aged 28 to just 16 years old. Prosecutors allege they were offered jobs or exclusive experiences and a tour of the building that ended with an attack. One former contractor, David Gauthier, told the court all doors there were hidden. One door appeared to be just a mirror from the outside of the suite, and from the inside it was always locked. He told the court to get out that door, I would go to the door and someone else would have to press the button and disengage the mag lock for me to get out. A door Gauthier had told authorities had no interior handles. He contradicted that on the stand, saying there were handles. Nygard's lawyer, Brian Greenspan, pointed out that Nygard had bedrooms at many of his international properties. Next to testify, a clinical psychologist.
It could be to educate the jury, first and foremost, on how trauma works, what it's like in the mind, what happens to people when they endure severe trauma, as a preparation for them perhaps to be able to understand more fully when they do hear those traumatic testimonies.
The alleged victims are expected to testify about what they say happened in this bedroom as the trial continues. Both the Crown and the defense have spent some time asking witnesses about Nygard's drinking habits. He drank sparingly, a maximum of 3 Coors Light in an evening, and also was anti-drugs. It's not clear what significance that has as the trial continues. Reporting live from Toronto Superior Court, I'm John Woodward. Back to you.
All right, thank you, John. In Ottawa, the Prime Minister has now apologized on behalf of Parliament for honoring a man who fought for the Nazis.
But the apology isn't enough for the opposition. They want Justin Trudeau to take personal responsibility. CTV's Judy Trinh reports.
To contain a diplomatic disaster, an apology from the Prime Minister.
All of us who were in this House on Friday regret deeply having stood and clapped, even though we did so unaware of the context. It was a horrendous violation of the memory of the millions of people who died in the Holocaust.
On behalf of Parliament, the Prime Minister apologized to Jewish, Roma, LGBTQ, disabled and racialized people, and to Ukrainians.
I also want to reiterate how deeply sorry Canada is for the situation this put President Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation in.
This comes after the Speaker of the House honored a 98-year-old veteran who fought with the Nazi unit during the Second World War. Anthony Rota has taken responsibility and resigned, but the Conservatives say Trudeau needs to take personal blame.
It was his personal responsibility to continue to lead the government that has the security, intelligence, and diplomatic agencies that could have and should have vetted all individuals who were present and recognized. Yet this Prime Minister allowed for a monumental, unprecedented, and global shame to unfold in this chamber.
The fallout has spread. Russia has used these images of Ukraine's president supporting the veteran to push a false narrative that its war against Ukraine is about fighting fascism. The NDP wants to know why Trudeau delayed answering questions in the House.
Real damage to the war effort in Ukraine and real damage to Canada's reputation. Now finally, after 3 days, the Prime Minister has finally said something, but he's got to take action.
We will continue to ensure with the military aid, with the humanitarian aid, with the financial aid, with the diplomatic aid we are engaged with around the world that will continue and indeed step up its efforts to counter Russia propaganda.
The Speaker's office operates independently from the government, but now there are calls from parliamentarians of all political stripes to review how the Speaker's guests are vetted to ensure this doesn't happen again. Judy Trinh, CTV News, Ottawa.
The federal Tories had a strong showing in the polls over the summer, and a new Leger survey suggests they are still #1. The Conservatives had 39% support among respondents. The governing Liberals were 12 points back at 27% support.
As for who would make the best prime minister, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's on top with 26%. Justin Trudeau 6 points back at 20%, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh comes with 14% of the vote. More than 1,600 Canadians responded to the online survey over the weekend.
Also in Ottawa today, Toronto's mayor on a mission.
Olivia Chow on a quest for federal funding, looking for a lifeline to bridge the city's budget gap. City TV's Natalie Johnson has been tracking the negotiations and joins us now with the latest. Natalie.
Well, Nathan Chow has gone cap in hand to Ottawa, hoping for a financial fix for this city. And it's no small ask. She's hoping for billions of dollars. She says she's already had a breakthrough with the Premier, and now she needs the Prime Minister on board too.
Back to her old stomping grounds, Mayor Olivia Chow took her plea to Parliament today.
My reason of coming back to the Hill is to press for a new deal for people so they have good, affordable housing and fast, reliable public transit.
Toronto's mayor has for months been pressing for a new fiscal framework for the city, which is struggling to pay the bills and is faced with a structural deficit for decades to come. Just last week, the Premier agreed to Chow's request to strike a new deal for this city. The task force charged with working out the details has a November deadline, but Ottawa has been mum on whether it will have a seat at the table. Chow sat down with the government's 416 caucus today. The Liberals hold all but one of Toronto's federal seats.
They didn't say no to working on a new deal together for people.
One of the biggest asks, $250 million in funding to support refugees who arrive in Toronto only to be told the shelter system is full.
Tonight, we would be turning away over 250 homeless people. Half of them are refugees. We have a huge housing crisis. Churches are full, shelters are full, rent are unaffordable, and yet the government are sitting on a lot of money.
Chow is also asking for more money for aging infrastructure, including transit, and funds to purchase buildings that can be immediately transformed into affordable housing. She meets with the housing minister tonight, hoping to re-establish Toronto's financial footing with a campaign in the capital.
Now, Chow will be spending 2 more days in Ottawa, with perhaps the most crucial meeting coming on Friday. That's when she sits down with Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, who's also in charge of finance and holds the purse strings to federal funds. I'm Natalie Johnson. Back to you, Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Natalie. To Queen's Park and the questions around what happens next in the Ontario Greenbelt scandal.
CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris reports.
With the reversal on building homes on the Greenbelt, noise is getting louder about a signature campaign pledge by progressive conservatives.
Once this gets built, once we build Highway 413.
Between Vaughan and Milton.
The highway is a gift to powerful mega developers who each own land along the proposed route. The highway is for them and not for the people.
Some of the same developers who would have cashed in from building homes on the Greenbelt stand to benefit from the 413. The government has refused to share a cost estimate for the 52-kilometer highway.
Will the Premier scrap this terrible project and also return those Greenbelt lands?
The Premier seems determined to plow ahead.
I will guarantee you those same NDP members and the Liberals will be on that highway driving on the 413 when we build the 413.
The Transportation Minister tries to make a distinction between homes and a highway on the Greenbelt.
Critical infrastructure will be built and can be built as per the Act and regulation as well.
The Green Party leader worries about the species and land that will be harmed.
67 waterways vital to our drinking water, protecting us from flooding, are at risk. 2,000 acres of some of the best farmland in North America are at risk. What? So people can drive 30 seconds faster? It makes absolutely no sense.
Progressive conservatives maintain the highway will shave 30 minutes off a trip. They argue Ontarians made clear in the last election they want the 413. But in the fallout from the Greenbelt scandal,
the people of Ontario are not going to accept their word for these things anymore. I think it casts it all in a different light.
Promised legislation to put land removed for housing back into the Greenbelt is still weeks away. A slow and steady correction to a rushed process. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
Thanks, Siobhan. From politics to playing the odds, there's a lot of buzz about the big lottery jackpot tonight.
The largest prize in 649 history, and it has many people dreaming. Here's CTV's John Musselman.
The owners of this variety store at Keele and Wilson say Lotto 649 tickets are selling fast today, and there's 68 million reasons why.
I feel a little bit stressed, but I think I should think about it. I cannot. But what I'm thinking is that I'll buy a couple of properties for now.
Have you ever won in the lottery before?
No, never.
Tonight's your night.
Probably.
A lot more, maybe 40% even. Because, people start since last week, buying this ticket because tonight is the last one.
It's hard to imagine 68 million.
Yeah, it's a lot.
At $68 million, it will be the largest Lotto 649 prize in history. Only one gold ball remains, so the jackpot is guaranteed to produce a winner.
There are 30 balls, 29 white, one gold ball. And those 29 white balls have already dropped, and now we're at $68 million. That gold ball is left. That's dropping tonight, guaranteed.
A winning ticket is what daydreams are made of.
I think you're gonna fly to the moon.
Definitely buy a house.
Dreaming of a win is one thing. Your odds of winning, that's a whole other story. Jeffrey Rosenthal is a professor of statistics at the University of Toronto.
But in this case, it's a little different because with the gold ball, what they do is they just pick one of the tickets that's been purchased. So your chance of winning is one out of how many tickets have been purchased for tonight's draw. And the thing is, I don't know how many tickets have been purchased, and the lottery company doesn't even know.
No surprise, Rosenthal doesn't play the lottery. Neither does this woman.
At my age, I don't need it. I'd have to give it away. And who would I give it to? I don't want to spoil my children. I want them to work for their money, like I did.
Tonight's anticipated draw comes just months after a $70 million Lotto Max ticket expired, becoming the largest unclaimed ticket in Canadian history. John Musselman, CTV News.
You could call it a wild new approach to mental well-being. Healthcare professionals in Ontario can now prescribe a trip to the Toronto Zoo. Coming up, the mental and physical benefits of connecting with nature.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, are you planning any home renovations? If you are, be careful which contractor you hire. An Oakville family says their home was demolished, and now the renovator is nowhere to be found, and they paid almost $60,000. I'll have my report just ahead.
15 days and counting now without any precipitation here in Toronto. The longest stretch on record for the city is 26 days. That takes us all the way back to 1938. Now, the reason it's so dry, we have a blocking pattern with these highs and this low essentially stuck. And at this point, it's not looking like we will get any measurable rain over the next 7 days. We will, however, tap into some October heat. Your weather forecast is coming up. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
It is one of the most common complaints we get here at CTV News. People who have problems with home renovations.
That's why you have to pick your contractor carefully and never pay in advance until the work is done. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Nathan and Michelle, the family bought a home in Oakville this summer and decided to update their kitchen and one bathroom. They say when contractors started working on their home, they claim they demolished it, and after receiving almost $60,000, they never came back.
I'm living a nightmare. And it's not getting over.
AJ and Sarucci Sood say their life has been turned upside down since buying this home in Oakville. The house is now unlivable, and almost every room has been damaged in some way.
He did nothing, zero. He only demolished. He didn't do anything.
This is what the home looked like when they bought it in July. They decided to update the kitchen and one bathroom and found a company that agreed to do the work for $27,000. But the family says once the contractors began, they ripped out the kitchen.
Without my knowledge, I came in and the whole kitchen was gone, and I was, where's my kitchen?
And tore out all 3 bathrooms.
When we handed over the house to the contractor, there were washrooms. Now there's no washroom in the house.
Sood claims the contractor also ripped up his driveway and took down his deck.
And I said, why is my washer outside? Like, this is the mess he created.
Sood alleges the contractor said the house wasn't to code, which is why everything had to be rebuilt. The family says at times they were locked out of their house and had to sleep in their car.
I would just put this at the front and then recline this down, and my wife and kids, we would just They would just sleep in here.
The company demanded more money to finish the renovations, but when Sood handed over a total of $58,000, they didn't come back. The company they hired is Banga House Improvements, run by brothers Ray Jett and Ishan Banga. We went to their home in Pickering. There's been some complaints that you've done some renovation work for a family in Oakville and took $58,000 and trashed their house.
No, we didn't.
So what did you do?
Actually,
When contacted by phone, both men said they had no comment on the renovation job. The family still can't believe what took place and have no money left to finish their home.
It just feels like a very big tragedy that has happened with us, especially being with a small kid. It is like unbearable.
I want my money back. I want my life back.
And the family called police, but problems with home renovations are considered a civil matter and police won't usually get involved. You have to go to court. It's why you should never pay for home improvements in advance until the work is complete. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
I think we're at the point in this weather pattern that it just feels like it will always be this way. Sunny, warm, there's no fall.
You know, I was thinking that I don't know when this is going to end, so I'm going to just enjoy this as long as we have it.
Here's the thing, it feels like it's not really going to end. If you take a look at our 7-day forecast, there is much of the same. In fact, it's only going to get hotter through the long-range forecast. Next couple of days, though, are looking pretty pleasant. Mix of sun and cloud, maybe an increase in cloud cover tomorrow. Tonight, though, there's a risk of frost in some areas. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. Hard to believe there's potential for frost because temperatures are very comfortable right now, even in areas like Wyerton, Muskoka, and Ottawa. Temperatures in the upper teens there. We are at 18 currently here in the city. And overnight tonight, we don't have to worry about frost. Our low is expected to be around 12 degrees, which is still above seasonal, just a few clouds in the sky. It will be a clear sky, however, in these areas, and that's going to allow the temperature to fall to near zero in places like Bancroft and Algonquin Park. So patchy frost a possibility as we are waking up tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, daytime high 20 degrees in Toronto, bit of a rinse and repeat situation. If you like today, you'll probably like tomorrow. It is worth mentioning, though, that we could see a little more in the way of cloud cover. Not much cloud right now. There's a mix of sun and cloud blend, and we have showers once again pushing into extreme southwest Ontario. That's because of that low that just continues to circulate stateside. More wet weather for Windsor over toward London overnight tonight and into tomorrow. We are expecting to remain dry. In fact, there are still no signs of any measurable rain for us in the forecast. In fact, even this little disturbance looks like it's going to remain south of the border as we make our way into the weekend. The weekend itself looks fantastic. Wall-to-wall sunshine. Heat starting to build as early as Saturday. Sunday is the first day of October. How does 25 degrees sound to you? And if that's not warm enough, we could climb to about 27 by the middle part of next week. Factor in some humidity, and it could be feeling closer to 30. That's your look at the weather for now. Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Going for gold again. Canada's women's soccer team will get a chance to repeat as Olympic champions.
I mean, knowing that we just qualified for the Olympics and now we get to go back there and defend that gold medal, it's unimaginable, the feeling.
Chloe Lacasse scored one of Canada's goals en route to a 2-1 win over Jamaica at BMO Field last night. The Canadians won both games of the qualifying series, so they are off to Paris next summer to defend their title.
Also tonight is the ultimate distinction for a restaurant. A slew of Toronto spots being added to the coveted Michelin Guide. Just ahead where you might want to book a reservation and fast. You may have heard the old saying, getting out into nature can do wonders for someone's health. Well, what's happening at one of Toronto's most popular attractions might be taking that to a new level.
Professionals prescribing their patients a little zoo time. CTV's Rahim Ladani explains.
Swinging by the zoo to see Poupée, the 56-year-old orangutan, is always a great experience.
I like watching the animals do stuff they like to do.
So we actually took the day off school today so we could be out in nature as a family.
But there's no need to feel guilty about playing hooky, because coming to the Toronto Zoo can now be the doctor's orders.
We actually issue a written nature prescription with our standard recommendation that you spend at least 2 hours in nature each week, at least 20 minutes each time.
The Toronto Zoo is the first of its kind in the country to partner with Canada's National Nature Prescription Program. The British Columbia Parks Foundation launched the initiative in 2020 to improve people's mental and physical health, and it's now in every province across the country.
Some conditions that are improved by nature time are high blood pressure, diabetes control, cholesterol issues, prenatal outcomes.
11,000 healthcare providers, including over 5% of all physicians in Canada, have registered, and over 600,000 nature prescriptions have been filled.
One of the key priorities for our board was to really raise awareness around the connection between human health and nature.
Healthcare professionals can sign up for the Nature Prescription Program and actually prescribe outdoor time to patients. Patients then bring their prescription here to the entrance of the Toronto Zoo and get 50% off their admission.
I think, paid time off to come out to the zoo or come out in nature is really beneficial.
Here to learn about the animals, so I think from a mental health perspective, that would be absolutely A1.
The program has already been recognized by the World Health Organization and endorsed by the Canadian Medical Association as a nature prescription program.
So I'm a registered nurse, so being outside is really good for my mental health, to be outside, with nature. I really like it and encourage it.
With the zoo surrounded by Canada's Rouge National Urban Park and home to hundreds of different species, prescribing time outdoors gives a whole new meaning to nature walks. Raheem Ladani, CTV News.
It's hoping to be a way of improving accessibility, bringing the screening process for serious illness straight into people's homes.
A Canadian company now providing test kits for cervical cancer. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has the details.
A lot of people are like, oh, I just turned 41, but there's a part of me that's always going to be like, I turned 41. I got to turn 41.
Liz Elwood was just 24 when she was diagnosed with cervical cancer in 2007. She underwent surgery, chemo, and radiation, and amazingly survived. She underlines the importance of early detection and says home collection kits, which allow a person to get a sample in the privacy of their own home and send it in for analysis, will encourage more women to get tested.
HPV testing is actually more accurate than a Pap test for detecting those people who are at risk of developing precancerous cells on the cervix.
Because this test detects, in particular, the strains of HPV most likely to cause cancer, it's an even earlier form of screening. And because of the convenience and privacy, it's more likely to be used by the 30 to 40% of people who in the past did not get Pap tests, whether because of a lack of time, transportation, childcare, or other religious or personal circumstances.
It means that we will reach those people who did not want to come in for traditional testing.
So the samples all go to our accredited and licensed laboratory based in Ottawa.
These kits, available across Canada through switchhealth.ca, cost $99 each, but the medical community is pushing for them to be covered just as Pap tests currently are. Elwood points out that the HPV vaccine, now given to middle school-aged children, was brought in the same year that she was diagnosed. Through surrogacy, she was able to have her own daughter, now almost age 12.
This year, she'll be eligible for the vaccination. And, there's absolutely no hesitation on my part whether or not she'll be getting that.
And she says between young people getting the vaccine and better detection of HPV in older Canadians, she looks forward to the day that HPV-related cancers are eliminated. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Hollywood writers can once again work on scripts after their union leadership voted to accept a new contract with studios and streaming services. The Writers Guild of America strike was lifted at midnight after nearly 150 days. Members still have to vote to ratify the deal, but the WGA says it reached an exceptional agreement with increased wages, benefits, and job protections. These developments don't mean everything is back to normal in the entertainment world. The Screen Actors Guild is still on the picket lines.
This new deal for WGA may set a template for the SAG strike in terms of how AI will be used in future. Payment, residuals are a huge deal, and that was part of the WGA agreement.
There don't appear to be any talks on the horizon between the striking actors and the studios and streamers. That could mean many film and TV sets stay dark since they don't have union performers. Late-night TV shows are setting their returns for next Monday.
Some of Canada's best-known rock bands will soon be joining the country's Rock of Fame. They include Lighthouse, Loverboy, and Glass Tiger.
Also in that group of 13 legends, Toronto's Platinum Blonde, and as CTV's Andrea Case is sitting down with the band's creator.
Much Music VJ Christopher Ward once wrote, if there was ever a Canadian band that was tailor-made for the video era, it was Platinum Blonde. Now, along with 12 other Canadian rock legends, Platinum Blonde will be inducted into Canada's Rock of Fame.
For another country to take you in and say that you're one of their own, I mean, sorry, I've got a bit verklempt here. I don't know if I can describe it.
He's not as blonde anymore, but British-born Mark Holmes always knew he wanted to be a rock star.
You know, when you're a kid in your bedroom and you've got the tennis rackets and that, and a mirror, and you put on your mum's makeup and wear her clothes and pretend you'd be a rock star. You probably haven't done that, but I did that.
He started the band with Sergio Galli and Christopher Steffler in 1982 after placing an ad in the paper. As for the band's name,
it was a movie came on with Jean Harlow called Platinum Blonde, and I was doing hairdressing at the time. My mum thought, you know, you may need something to fall back on, and then one day I just came to her and says, Mum, I won't need anything to fall back. I promise. I know I'm going to be a star at some point. I'm a rock star, even if I don't know how to play properly or don't know how to, and I really didn't know how to sing well, didn't know how to play that well. You learn as you go along, right? I faked it until I made it. It doesn't really
matter. And make it they did. The Gemini-winning 5-time Juno-nominated band was inducted into the Canadian Music and Broadcast Industry Hall of Fame in 2010. Canada's Rock of Fame induction will take place tomorrow night at Massey Hall. Andrea Case, CTV News.
Stars Tonight is brought to you by Lastman's Bad Boy. Who's better? Nobody.
I'm just really disappointed. For 10 years, the local residents, the shop owners, everybody's been waiting. TTC riders, come on, open it up.
Updating our top stories, the mayor echoing the sentiments of many Torontonians after Metrolinx revealed it's still unable to provide a reliable opening date for the Eglinton Crosstown LRT. Construction began in the summer of 2011 with the original opening date set for 2020.
3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, it was a big bang. It wasn't a gunshot, it was more like a boom.
Police in Barrie say no injuries were reported after an improvised explosive device placed on a vehicle exploded outside a residential building overnight. They also detonated a second device this morning. So far, there has been no indication of who made or planted the bombs.
On behalf of all of us in this House, I would like to present unreserved apologies for what took place on Friday and to President Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation for the position they were put in.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau apologizes after Parliament honored a Second World War veteran who fought for a Nazi unit. The standing ovation came during a visit by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Yesterday, former House Speaker Anthony Rota, who invited the veteran, resigned as a result of the incident.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar is trading up 6 points to 74.04 U.S. American benchmark oil gained $3.29 to end the day at $93.68 a barrel. And the TSX Composite Index lost 120 points, closing the day at 19,435.
It's a big night for Toronto foodies, with several local eateries receiving coveted Michelin stars.
Been really an amazing impact on the culinary scene. It brings so much tourism, and the restaurants see such a flourish in diners as well.
Over 70 restaurants were included in Michelin's first ever Toronto Guide last year. The latest edition is out tonight, and 12 new establishments made the list. BB's, Sonny's, Chinese, Tiflisi, and White Lily Diner received the Bib Gourmand for affordable, tasty food. The other 8 will be told if they receive stars or other honors at a special ceremony.
Tonight, hitching a ride on the electric vehicle revolution. A small Quebec town's big bet on batteries and why it's becoming Canada's hub for powering the cars of the future. Later on CTV National News.
Frost for some tonight, but not the GTA.
Not for us, but areas like Bancroft as well as Algonquin Park, you are under a frost advisory. Here's what that looks like. Waking up tomorrow in Toronto, we could have a little more cloud at times tomorrow. That's really the main change. Once again, we're looking at a lovely afternoon, daytime high 20 with that east wind. And then there's one more look at the long-range forecast. Plenty of sunshine this weekend. And a reminder about the new Lotto 649 with 2 big jackpots to be won on 1 ticket. Tonight's classic jackpot is $5 million, and the new gold ball jackpot is $68 million. You can head to olg.ca for more information. Nathan and Michelle.
Thanks, Lindsay. And be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a great night.